Welcome back to the Earfluence Podcast Marathon, live from American Underground in Durham, North Carolina. I am so excited for this next episode today with one of the original podcasts in the Triangle area, the NCFB podcast, the North Carolina Food and Beverage podcast. They have now had 320-something episodes up, with guests such as Ashley Christensen and Vivian Howard and Scott Crawford and Mike Lee and just all these superstars. And today they're interviewing another superstar, and I'll let them get right to that. For all of you watching at home, you can go to podcastmarathon.com. Tell your friends to go to podcastmarathon.com or watch us on WRL TechWire's LinkedIn or Discover Durham's YouTube. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Max Trujillo and Matt Weiss, the hosts of the NCFB podcast. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for downloading, subscribing, and telling your friends about the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, coming to you from the Kitchen Studios in downtown Raleigh. This episode is sponsored in part by Spot On, tech that helps your business grow. Request a demo at spoton.com. And GigPro. Change the way you find staff with GigPro. And Joe Van Gogh Coffee, serving the community from seed to cup. And now, schmoozing, boozing, and oozing meat sweat over the microphone for over 5 years and counting, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Well, hello, and thank you for listening and watching the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss, and it is great to be here at the American Underground Studios, and it is great to sit across from this gentleman that we are about to talk to. So this gentleman has been lording over the fish of the North Carolina coastline for years and bringing it to your table at Saltbox Seafood Joint, Chef Ricky Moore.
Greetings, everyone. What's going on, good people? Glad to be here.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with you guys.
We love hanging out with you.
Straight up, I love hanging out, man.
Well, you know, like that's like when we book people on this show.
Yeah.
It's informal. It's not like call my PR agent, call my whatever.
Right.
It's just because we're all doing this.
Yeah.
Matt's selling wine. I'm opening a food hall. You're slinging fish, and it was just a quick text. Hey, man, would you be on the show?
Yep.
And you're like, cool. When and where?
That's it. Done deal. No complication. No going around about it. Straightforward, man. That's how we do business.
Well, speaking of, let's get into business. But before we even get into business, you know, the fish, the whole history, James Beard nomination this year. Congratulations, Mazel Tov. You're a huge hip hop fan. I'm friends with you on Facebook. You're always posting things about it. Without in no particular order.
Right.
What's on your Spotify list or Apple II or whatever you're listening? Like what hip hop artists?
Whoa, man! I wasn't even prepared for this.
Oh,
one,
I know, man.
But I'm gonna go off the dome.
Young MC, Bust a Move.
Let me see here. Let me see where I'm very classic. I mean, I'm a J. Cole. Okay, let's go contemporary.
Yeah.
Okay.
J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
For me, those are pivotal MCs that speak to something. I'm go classic. You know, people may not know this, but I'm a big L fan.
Okay.
AZ. Yeah. Okay, obviously, KRS-One.
Yeah.
Rakim, the R. Okay. Big Daddy Kane.
Okay.
All right. I won't get into my Furious Five because it changes often. You know what I mean? It's 5 MCs always changes for me.
Yeah.
But those are the people.
I'm thinking like just Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Pharcyde.
Right. Okay. Black Thought.
Black Thought. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. From a female perspective, you know what I mean? I'm a Light fan. MC Light. You know what I mean? Obviously, Queen Latifah.
Half of our listeners have no idea what we're talking about right now. Like KRS One, what?
Really?
They're right there. I like that you dropped J. Cole, Fayetteville's own.
Absolutely.
But you did that like on the back end because he's got Dreamville happening like in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
And you're like, if I say it out loud enough times, maybe Jay will hear.
Yes.
J. Cole is a foodie. He used to come
absolutely.
into Standard Foods all the time and get like very healthy, very clean food.
Okay.
And I'd see him around. He's a good dude.
Well, he has an invitation. I can give him a clean meal at Saltbox. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into that. Let's get in. So Saltbox.
Yeah.
We have had in one way we've had you on the podcast on 2 different occasions.
Yes.
But the first time we just kind of forced you on it because you were at Terra Vita and you had no way of saying no because you were in a public forum. We had a microphone in your face.
Exactly.
And we just said,
I was cornered.
Ricky, talk to us right now. And you're like, okay, I guess. And so that was great. That was like the first time. And then back in the pandemic and post George Floyd, the chaos that ensued, we had something that was a little bit more about the culture of America and how Black Lives Matter and we went through there and it was we had 3 different people on the show and you were one of them.
Right.
But we never sat down to just talk to you. And even this is not how we normally do things. Now we're live. We're on Earfluence, American Underground Radio.
Right.
So we never do things normally with you.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is so interesting. It's always either crisis mode or just spontaneous. But you know what? For me, those circumstances and situations are just as good. A lot of times things that are planned out, man, they seem to come across unauthentic.
Yeah.
And sometimes, off the cuff, in the moment, freestyling it, it's more compelling.
Yeah. And authentic is what I would say with you and your food. I will have just like a food memory, if you will, and it was so amazing, but it also kind of tells a little bit of the story about where you are with Saltbox in Durham. Right. Last year, my wife and I, Felicia, we decided to have a little romantic getaway. Yeah. And our decision to do it was to spend a night or a weekend in Durham.
Yes.
And, we're Raleigh natives, so it's not like it's like a staycation almost, but we were like, let's get out. Yeah. So we got a hotel at the Unscripted, got a room just around the corner, and we made our way to eat and drink through all of Durham. Awesome. And the first thing we did was go to Saltbox. Right. But you messed it up for us. Because we went to the wrong Saltbox.
Wait. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. I went to the wrong one, meaning the one that's no longer existing?
Correct.
Okay, well.
And I needed to be up on my beat to know that. But your original location, ultimately, you closed down, I think, in August of last year.
Yes.
So this must have happened, I think it was even like prior to that, but I think you were like you were getting ready to shut it down. So there were certain days that you were just already preemptively closing.
Absolutely.
So that just happened to be that day. And then I went, oh man, I was even telling our producer Elizabeth on the way in here this story. And I said, I looked at my wife and thought, oh man, this is not the best way to start a romantic weekend. Like strike one already. But then
goodness.
we went to your current amazing space and
Awesome.
we had like I was saying to Matt, like you can have fried fish and you can have fried shrimp or lobster roll or whatever you're going to do. And everyone has an opinion of what that might taste like and flavors and all. All of that just gets thrown out the window when I went to Saltbox because it's so fresh and so clean. And even though there is a fry to it, there's such an elegance to what you're doing.
Thank you for that.
And my wife, who is a healthy, clean eater, was like, oh, I can get down with this.
Right.
And we ate so much food to start, so much so that after a beer, a couple rolls, some hush puppies with all that that honey on there, we had to go back to Unscripted and take a little afternoon nap.
Yo, man. Well, thank you for sharing that story, man. Listen, you hit it on the head. And look, the preparation of frying gets a bad rap. Okay, you know what I mean? It's unhealthy. Too much this, too much that. I don't want to eat it all the time, this and the other. But the way I think about it, and me personally growing up the way I've been eating it, it was never overly battered. And also, I put what we do at Saltbox in the same context as tempura.
Right.
I mean, let's think about that. Does tempura ever get that same sort of flack as being unhealthy? No, it looks it's more of elegance. So for me,
crunch.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I try to do, And like I said, obviously you don't eat fried food all the time, but the way we do it, it's approachable. Okay. I've heard a lot of my guests say, you know what? Was this fried? Really? You sure?
Right.
So I mean, that was part of the plan. You know, it was part
Speaking
of the plan.
the genesis, as I understand it, of why you created Saltbox Seafood Joint, and by the way, I want to get into this, but your training is as a very high end culinary chef.
Yes.
But it had to do with your wife, as I've read.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell that story.
Well, okay, so here's the deal. Okay, my whole professional career has been higher echelon, fine dining, Michelin Starred, stage in Europe, all the stuff that one had to do in order to be validated as a skilled professional.
Right.
Let me just say that. And you know, I mean, I enjoyed it. I love it. I enjoy it now. You know. But when I decided to open my own business, I thought about all of those things that I learned in those environments. And obviously, as an employee and a business owner, it's two different hats. So as I thought about developing a concept or a restaurant idea, I said, well, you know what? I don't want to spend time in that space. You know, I feel like there's other people who are doing fast casual concepts that are not culinary trained or even chefs.
Yeah.
And they're killing the game.
Yeah.
So why aren't we?
Right.
Okay, so, and as I thought about it, I said, you know what do I want to do? Saltbox it could have been, I mean, I could have done a million things, all right, but I took a trip to Singapore. And I'm going to tell you this story, you're going to trip out.
All right.
I hope
So-
you didn't do any graffiti in Singapore. 'cause
Nah,
you
nah,
know
nah,
that would be a harsh punishment.
They're crazy,
you know
man.
that,
You get caned in
Exactly.
Singapore, man.
Yeah.
But someone called me up, man, a headhunter. Those know what a headhunter is. Hey, we're looking for an American chef to open an American brasserie in Dubai.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Hey, babe, I'm going to CC you on every email because if I get killed or stabbed or, kidnapped, you know where I'm at.
You need to know. Yeah.
So,
Let's not go there about Dubai and Arab Air
So
Brits.
wait.
Phil Mickelson got in a lot of trouble. So
Yeah.
But you were in Singapore when you got this Dubai offer.
yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Because I was doing a tasting.
Got it.
So they flew me over. I mean, that's how it happens.
Yeah.
Ricky Moore, why not?
And I went over there and I did a tasting, and I was over there for 2 or 3 weeks hanging out. Nothing came of it. So I had a free vacation technically.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
but during that time, though, guys, I was there and I saw these hawker stalls.
Hawker stalls?
Hawker stalls. It's basically an open-air food court,
Okay.
technically. Okay, little small places where you got 1 or 2 people in there cooking something really delicious.
There's bats for sale.
Possibly,
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you something. That is my favorite place on the planet to eat.
Yeah.
As of right now, Singapore. And I went over there and I saw all these little operations, man, functioning with 1 or 2 people in them and killing the game. And beautiful food being created. So as I thought about what I wanted to do, I said, you know what, I would love to do something along that line, something that's small, I can do myself. And frankly, as I thought about it, there is a big transition from being an employee to a business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mindset is huge, so you got to think about things differently. So Saltbox was sort of my apprenticeship to entrepreneurship. As I came to the ranks as a young cook, I worked and I apprenticed with folks, so for me, this was a whole different transition. And frankly, I got burnt out being the executive chef of this and the executive chef of that. And, I was in a place of maturity, professional maturity, to do something on my own. So, I was doing recons around Chapel Hill, Durham, and then I ran across this place on Mangum Street, and nobody gave a damn about it. Initially somebody was doing something out of it, and they were doing burgers, but they didn't care. And I sat there and I watched that place for 3 weeks, morning, noon, and night, just to understand the traffic patterns and that sort of thing. And I just went in there one day like boldly and say, are you guys want to rent this place? And they slammed the door on me. So I went around them. Because, see, here's why I did it. Man, I sat and watched them for 3 weeks, man. They would come to work and bring a TV in. They weren't interested in selling them food. They weren't interested in cooking.
Yeah.
They just wanted to hang out, So I just kind of...
You see that way too often.
Yes, yeah. And so I went around and went to the landlord and said, hey, I can pay your... And see, these folk that were in there, they weren't paying their rent on time. So I said, hey, I can do that. I can pay it on time consistently. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened.
But wasn't there a story about your wife
Yes.
asking you about, hey, where do I go to get a really good fish sandwich?
Okay, so here's the deal. Norma would ask me, because, she grew up in a fisherman family. Her grandfather was a fisherman. So they ate fish all the time. But, we were just moving to the area, and we kind of did a recon of all the other seafood places. Man, there is not a good fish sandwich around here. I mean, and for me, that's a simple thing. It's 2 pieces of white bread and some fish, man.
Yeah.
Cooked, hot, and served seasoned.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, you can put all the other extra stuff you want to, but we were unsuccessful. So that conversation, her thought, her request kind of motivated some things for me. Okay?
So to say that when you saw that burger place, I don't want to call it a joint because that diminishes what you have with your joint.
Right.
You didn't know what you were necessarily going to cook at that point. You
Not at
just
all.
knew that I could make this space, a la what they were doing in Singapore, into a very simple food, some
Yes.
sort of shack, and blow it up.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
And
Simple as that.
then you have this conversation with your wife, and
Yes.
all of a sudden you're like, oh,
There it is.
fish sandwich.
And then, you know, I'm thinking about it from my perspective growing up in Eastern North Carolina. You know, you went to specific places to get specific things. So you get a burger at this burger joint. You got a fish sandwich at this place. You got a shrimp burger at this place. You got, you know, it was very specific. So in my mind, you know, that's something that, you know, roadside place, man. You see them all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ales is another one of the inspirations. You know, when you go down to Moorhead, you go down Atlantic Beach, everybody goes to Ales.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Do we need to go to, what's ale? I don't know ale.
Oh,
Do you know
whoa.
Yeah,
School
You
us.
guys,
I know
you
this.
guys don't know what ales is?
No.
Yo.
ALES?
E. Let me see. Ales.
We'll reference it in another. We'll figure it out.
You're driving down 70, going to Atlantic Beach, man. It's on the left-hand side. Ales. It's an old school drive-in. You know, old school. I mean, the pigeons still hang around there. They got picnic tables, kind of raggedy, but they still walk out to your car. Cars are situated sort of strategically, and then they walk out, man, and they take your order, and they figure out how to get everybody their food. But it's been around a long time.
Hey everyone, just a quick break from today's show just to talk about some of our fantastic sponsors that help keep our lights on with the show.
Yeah, spot on.
Oh, yeah.
Working with you, for you. Whether you need simple mobile payment technology or a fully integrated restaurant management system, Spot On will work with you to customize the right set of tools for your business. And as those needs evolve and your business grows, like Crafton 2 and 3, we not only have the existing technology to support you, but are constantly innovating to help you future-proof your business. So, call Tanya Manibo. It's 858-213-7820. Tanya is a local rep. You can also email her, tanyam@spoton.com. That's TANYAM @spoton.com.
And where GigPro is calling all restaurants and hospitality owners, managers, and employees. You get to know GigPro because they're changing the way people work and hire. We're not just filling shifts, we're bringing instant solutions to the table for the entire industry. So businesses right now, sign up and get your first gig on us. First gig free from GigPro when you use the gigpro.com/NCFB promo code. And for the pros, get $5 off for everyone you refer. Learn more about the app, their mission, and sign up for free on gigpro.com.
And while we're here, I need my Joe Van Gogh pick-me-up fix.
I'll back you up with the Nicaraguan Selva Negra estate. That might be my jam, my favorite jam, at least right now. Man, it's delicious. Check it out. So go to joevangogh.com to learn more about all of their different coffees. Do it the way we do it. We grind it real nice. We put it in a Chemex, and we do a pour over with a little gooseneck. Get that heat up to about 207 degrees. Really nicely done. It's elegant. It takes all of that bitterness away and leaves you with just the perfect flavor of the coffee. Joe Van Gogh, excellent stuff. Thank you. Little disclaimer for those, because you might be listening to this podcast for the first time on this other network, and you're like, wait a minute, how did those two hosts of the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast not know about this? To give you perspective, we're idiots, but we're also technically like Yankees and West Coasters. So I'm from LA, he's from New York, and we moved here independently. We're friends from long ago, just as a little background. But this show, too, is perspective on what this food culture is like, kind of from the outside looking in, because we're from the outside. Now we've been here for a while and we know it a little bit more, but every day we learn certain things like that. And that's where it's like, oh, okay, now we got to go. We got to do
also,
that.
just to add to that point, we strategically chose to pick North Carolina as our home.
Right. We didn't
Okay.
just end up here. We said,
because of the
this
food.
looks awesome. we want
Well,
to be
you
here.
got to go to L's and get you a shrimp burger.
All right.
That's what you got to do.
So I feel like you
Okay,
gave us
yeah.
a great understanding of the genesis of
Yes.
Saltbox.
Yes.
But so the question I've been noodling around in is,
Yep.
so you were, as you talked about, you built this career into this high-end Michelin starred chef. You work at the likes of Danielle, speaking about
Yeah.
New York, which
Yeah.
is one of the culinary destinations of New York City and possibly the world.
Yeah.
You worked at True Restaurant, which I'm not as familiar with, but
Right,
these
right.
are on your resume
Right.
as like shining stars.
Right.
So I think about this, and now you're making this very simple seafood joint, right? Like it's a seafood shack.
Right.
In my mind, I can't help but thinking this is like Rodin or Michelangelo, like putting their Legos in a museum. You know,
Yeah.
it's so simple, but
Right.
But you're on the cutting edge of it because it's like what like David Chang has done years
Yes.
ago and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
Do ever times you feel like, oh man, this is so simple. I want to get back to creating and going crazy with flavors and ingredients.
Yes.
Okay.
The honest answer is yes.
Okay.
But as I think about it and where I'm at in my life and separating business, prior to being a cook, I was going to be an artist. All right. So, I enjoy creating. I enjoy thinking about things in a creative light. I can think of some of the most memorable meals I've ever had, and I never crave anything that was overly complicated.
Yeah.
I always crave something that was so simply done. Michelin Starred chef Joel Rubichon, me and my wife had dinner there. Okay, he was top tier.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
He was known for mashed potatoes. That's it.
Yeah. And he's not doing anything different than you and I do, except
No.
for probably just a little technique.
Exactly. There is a technical prowess that goes along with doing something so simple and having the confidence to do it. You know what I mean?
And the
Like-
restraint sometimes too.
Right, because sometimes we want to be all overly creative. Oh, let me put some, tarashi inside of it. Let me do some more extra madness that doesn't matter. And it takes a lot of restraint, for a lot of us, particularly myself, who is a very creative person. I really go through a lot of trial and tribulation, think about what it means to put food on a plate. I mean, you look at the dish at Saltbox, you see some fried fish, you see slaw, you see, hush honeys, but no. I went through some process. There's a seasoning, there's some balance, there's why I don't put mayonnaise in the slaw, there's a reason why I put honey on the hush honeys, there's a reason why I season them a certain way, there's a reason for everything. You go inside the restaurant, same thing. There's reasons why the color palette is what it is. There's a reason why I put this here. I want to evoke this. I'm taking on the same sort of behavior that a fine dining, establishment would do, but in a more palatable or digestible way. So that people
That
won't
you
feel-
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a simple, easy way to just walk in. You order food. Everything is simple.
Yeah.
But then it does just knock you over when you get the food. You're not expecting
Yeah.
to get what you ultimately do receive, and
Right.
you're just like, wow, man, that's the cut above. I mean, obviously, I think
Yeah.
we mentioned it at the top two.
Yeah.
You were nominated for a James Beard Award.
Yes.
This year.
Yes.
For this unassuming small
That's
fish
right.
shack joint.
That's right.
That breaks the rules.
Yes.
That is pretty amazing. But to anyone that has A, known you, and B, had your food,
Right.
it comes as no surprise.
Right.
You're like, oh, but most of us all went, yes.
Yeah.
Like, yes, James Beard, you got it right. You
Yeah.
got it right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
are nominations. There's a bunch of people nominated, and they'll get to the point where they announce winners.
Right.
But we've also said on the show, being nominated is to win. Like,
Absolutely.
You're already in now.
Yes,
Because, like,
absolutely.
yes, they got to give an award to someone, but now it's like, this put a blip on, you're now on the radar of a more national and a widespread.
That's right.
Did the lines get a little longer after that announcement happened?
You know what? Yes, but it was a very gradual thing, and which I like. Look, we can only cook fish so fast, right? so I would love when people recognize how to come to Saltbox now. You know what I mean? I spent years kind of trying to figure out or formulating how to manage that.
Yeah.
Look, Friday and Saturday, everybody's going to be balls to the wall. You know what I mean? But And now people are coming strategically because they know, like, man, I can't come there this time because it's going to be crazy. So let me come during this time. So it's been really good. It's been really healthy. And just to reference the whole James Beard Award, I mean, it is so wonderful to receive that. I receive it, I appreciate it. Food in any context, man, when done with a level of care, soigné, if you will, deserves to be recognized. You know what I mean? I mean, another case in point, Singapore, gentleman was known for doing chicken and rice and got Michelin Starred for that. And rightfully so. I mean, he's been doing the same dish over and over and over again for years. It's perfect now.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Excellence comes every now and again. It'll pop up every now and again, but man, it's perfect. He was doing it so much, So for me, I excellence, whatever award you want to garner, it's because of consistency over and over and over the long haul, over a long period of time. That's what, for me, James Beard, Michelin Star, whatever else you want to put out there. That was
going to be kind of a follow-up question to that is, because many people that listen to our show are chefs themselves or in the business, and they're just kind of like, I mean, we've had previous guests on the show too, just like say things like, man, how do I get on the radar of James Beard? Like, do they only give it to those that, do what, whatever, like actively seek it and all?
Right.
But like, any advice just for those young chefs? Like, how do you do what you do, but also make yourself available to be noticed, I guess?
Well, I would say, first of all, everything that you do, well, let me just simplify this. I don't want to overcomplicate this thought. Be authentic always and forever. In any space that you're in, whatever you're doing, be authentic. Be around people who have, I guess, won these awards, I guess. You are who you around.
Be in good company, yeah.
Yeah, be in good company.
That helps.
Like I said, be authentic and deliver consistently. The whole adage, let your spoon speak for yourself, okay, fine, but like, that's real. It sounds corny, but yeah, man, do good work consistently over and over again. Folk will recognize that.
Yeah.
Those folk who are, I guess, in the know or, who believe in something done correctly, they'll support you.
Yeah.
That's all. I think a lot of people, they start to want to, they see other people doing getting awarded or whatever the case may be, and they say, well, I got to figure out how to manipulate this because I don't want to really put the work in. All I want to do is get it because I believe I should. And that's fine. That's confidence. I wouldn't call that cocky, but, always work at a James Beard level. Always work at a Michelin Star level. Yeah. And it'll naturally come. How about that? A little quick segue. Coming up through the ranks as a young culinary professional, someone told me, if you work a position currently, work at the next level. So when the next level comes, you're already ready for it. That's always what I've always done.
Yeah.
When I was a commis, I worked like the chef de partie. When I was chef de partie, I worked like the sous chef. When I was a sous chef, I worked like the chef, And when I was executive chef, I act like the owner. So my mental state was already ready. So when that opportunity came, I'm good to go.
Do you hear that, everybody? Like, seriously, what you just said needs to be said like 17 times in a row so people can get it. But do the job that you want to aspire to today.
Right.
And the worst thing you can tell anybody is, once I get the job, I'll be there. I'll come extra early.
Right.
I'll work harder. Like, if you pay me, I'll do it. It's like, no.
Yes.
It's the Field of Dreams thing. If you build it, if you yourself build it, it will come.
Absolutely.
And you can't do it the other way around. You can't expect, my whole thing is like when people show up late all the time.
Yeah.
Late.
Yeah.
And then they go, but man, like, I wanna get that promotion. It's like, stop being late first.
Yes.
Start doing the fundamentals first. And then now you're just at zero.
Yeah.
And then start doing the next things.
There's in my mind, I don't know about anybody else, there's a behavior that goes along with being successful.
Right.
A behavior. Everybody going to look up every now and again. But you got to have a specific behavior to prepare yourself to be successful, whatever that means to you. Okay, success is different for a lot of people. But, I've always said, okay, I find models that make sense for me, and I model my stuff after that. I make adjustments when need be, but I mentally prepared myself to be successful. And bottom line is, if you ain't a worker, a real worker, I don't know what your return is going to be.
Yeah.
Well, that speaks to even just the operational spot of just working the restaurant. Like if you only prep to do enough to serve 150 people that day, then that's all you'll ever do.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that, okay, maybe you don't want to prep for 250 knowing that your average is 125 people or whatever.
Right.
But if you can make a plan that in the middle of the shift you have a B team or a prep team or somebody that can then shift into overdrive and start prepping to then support the next thing.
Right.
If you have a plan to then be successful, then you will.
Absolutely.
Because if you just tell people, sorry, we're at our hill.
Yep.
And I'm saying this because I've made that own personal mistake.
Right.
And it's like, we just can't do it right now. We just can't. And then you won't.
Yes.
And you can't expect that the line's even longer the next day. Like people are just going to assume, no, get there early. Don't get there at a certain point because they can't handle it. And then they don't come back. And it's not always easy to do, but you have to have that mentality.
Yeah. And I share with my team a lot of times, just look, I'm really interested in making you successful. I'm really interested in that because it's important to me, outside of being a profitable business and a good business person in the community. That's primary. I worked for a company that had a little motto, and they said, there's three entities that are important in your business, and first is the guests. Well, you have three guests, and I think a lot of people take on this thing, but there's three guests. There's the consumer that comes in the door, and there's your employees, and then you. Okay, we do a good job. We do a good job with the consumer, and I always want to work better for my employees, because that's kind of a sort of a rotating effect. If they're happy, I'm gonna be killing the game.
Yep.
Okay. Period.
Yeah.
So I try to figure out what it means for me to, because I always try to, it ain't about me and this and that and the other, but man, your employees. I'm having a conversation with a person who. This individual started a business. He grinded it out, and he told me yesterday, "Hey, I'm just a chef. I'm just trying to figure out how to not be there and have the business still run." I said, "Good for you, sir. Good for you. That's the game.
Yeah,
that is the game. You are not there, and your employees are happy. They're fulfilling the standards. They meet the expectations and exceed them when they need to. You know what I mean? So that's the game.
I think many people who want to be entrepreneurs or own their own business or are owning their own businesses at that time, especially in our industry, are wondering, well, Ricky, what does that mean? How do you keep your employees happy? Can you share any tidbits or?
The first thing is extend them courtesy and respect. All right, through the utmost. I address the women in the kitchen as Miss, and that's sort of a Southern thing. It's something I grew up doing. I extend that courtesy. I make sure day one there's no foolishness going on in this organization. No disrespect. All right, all the males in the kitchen, Mister. Sounds old school, sounds corny, but I'm immediately setting a tone within the kitchen. So anybody else who comes in there, if they're going to be comfortable with it, great. I can tell. You know what I mean? I try to create a culture of inclusiveness. Come there and be yourself. I need you to be your authentic self, because if you come aboard and share the vision and you're your authentic self, then this job's going to be easy. I don't want you to be a copycat of anything. Just be who you are, but fall in the guidelines of what we're talking about. And if you share that, we should be good. Secondly, I reward people who do good work. Look, I want to say this on air right now because I think a lot of times, man, the restaurant industry gets a bad rap. There's no restaurateur out there that I know of in my circle, let me say that does not want to pay their employees. The goal here is that you have to justify with skill set to garner money. Right. I believe that. I don't think it's irregular. I mean, and it all depends on where you're at in your life or whatever. The more skillful you are, the more money you get paid.
Right.
Yeah,
I believe
this has been a conversation we've been having a lot recently. And, we just spoke with Chef Scott Crawford the other day. And it was, I think what we were saying, at least my opinion of it, is that we're very employee centric right now, trying to make sure that we are creating the right environment for our employees,
Right.
so that because we have abused
Yes.
that industry for so long,
Absolutely.
paying people too little, asking
Yeah.
for too many hours,
Yes.
workload, just whatever, and all for what? To make a couple extra bucks, perhaps,
Yeah.
or just that's because that's the way it was, you know.
Yes.
And so I think we've been in this, the pandemic kind of gave us that pause, and then really more importantly, the staff had a
Yeah.
pause to say, do I really want to go back to that
Yes.
semi-abusive or toxic environment
Yeah.
and all? And so now we as business owners and employers are saying, okay, we have to at least establish some ground rules and some standards.
Yeah.
But I also want to swing that pendulum back a little bit more to the, okay, can we, now that we're at this point where we've respected everybody's bare minimums and we've got like a nice foundation, now I want you to work here because you're working for Chef Ricky Moore,
Right.
because you're working for Scott Crawford,
Right.
because you're working for Max Trujillo. But like,
Right.
I want you to go, no, I like working for that person because they've A, created a great positive environment, but also B, because this is a fun place to work and there's creativity
Right.
and then my creativity gets rewarded
Right.
by doing that. And we're slowly getting there, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. I think about it, and a lot of the culture that was created was definitely toxic. Those folk participated in it. I kept my nose down and I made sure that I got what I needed out of the situation. I never participated in anything that was unhealthy or disrespectful, But what I do know is, for me, that's a priority. Even safety. Nobody leaves the kitchen or closes the restaurant at night by themselves. There's at least 4 people. I think about my family staff. I think about those things that sometimes we don't think about. You know what I mean? Because of some experiences I had. But I want everybody to feel safe.
Yeah.
Nobody leaves. No, one person. I don't care if you're a manager. I don't care if you're 6 foot, 2 feet. No, you're not going to leave by yourself because somebody can take you down. You know what I mean? So people leave together. They come in together. They leave together. You know what I mean? Everybody got each other back.
Max is feeling guilty right now because he sent his second in to open the coffee shop this morning at Crafton all by herself. How dare you, Max?
Actually, if you want to know the truth, it's so funny that you say that. I was gonna give myself a pat on the back, Matt, and instead you made it sound like I was an asshole. The honest truth about today is we open up as a coffee shop at 6:45 a.m.
Right.
And I have 2 people that open that place together because I don't want a single person opening it up.
Yeah.
And we found out one of the 2 people just wasn't there. And so the other employee texted me at 6 o'clock in the morning and said, it was like 6:05. Hey, so-and-so isn't here yet. And, I'm just by myself and this and that. I said, yeah, she's like, I'm just in my car. And I said, just chill for a second and let me find out. So I'm texting the other employee. I don't hear back for a while. And now like 20 minutes, 30 minutes has gone by. And I just said, just go home. We don't need to open right now. I said, maybe you want to come back at 9 o'clock as the cooks are starting to come in and we'll figure this out. And she said, okay. And then I heard that the other employee's sister texted me on his phone to say that he was in a car accident.
Oh, dear.
And that's why they weren't there. Matt feels stupid now.
I don't feel stupid. I just didn't hear the whole story.
But so then I said, I said, I didn't want her opening the place all by by herself.
Yeah.
And I also know that the other person didn't just not show up because that's who they were.
Right.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
And the bottom line for us was, do we need to be open and put this person in harm's way, being all by herself in this place? What if just something happened? I couldn't forgive myself if whatever. And for what? To just sell a few coffees in the morning?
Yeah, I got you.
So we pushed back and we opened up 2.5 hours later and it was fine. And life is okay. And literally as we're having this conversation right now, my bartender's texting me to ask me how to turn Spotify on.
Well, let me apologize at the top of the show. I meant to congratulate you on your opening.
Oh,
Good
thanks.
night, man. I am so sorry. I mean, I was thinking about it.
We were thinking that.
I was waiting for
I
this.
was like, what in the world?
It took to minute
I can't
36.
believe I didn't let the. Yeah, man, congratulations.
Thank you, man.
I mean, honestly, man, I'm going to. My daughter said she was out there in the area, and I said, "Did you go by that place?" No, I didn't get to go by there, but man, I'm definitely coming to see you.
Please let me know. Please let me know when your daughter comes too.
Yeah.
We don't have any fried fish or seafood in the space.
Really?
No. And in fact, that was the joke I just had.
Subtle hint there.
I know.
But now it's
Might
listening
need-
to people like you and all the great chefs and leaders that has made Max this great leader to
Absolutely.
for crafting.
No, that's real, man. I mean, we wear a lot of hats in my mind. I'm the oldest of my siblings, so I'm a big brother.
Yeah.
Right. So that's responsibility. So I joined the military, learned leadership. Was in charge of people doing combat situations and that sort of thing. So that's what I know. I know to take care of my people.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything else. I know that whoever I'm responsible for, well, as a father, as a husband, same thing. I take care. That's part of my personality. So that's a big part of me in terms of leadership, like making sure whomever I'm responsible for, I'm taking care of them. I fall short, not perfect. I call some wrong shots every now and then, or my assumptions are wrong, or my perceptions are wrong. But I work on them,
Yeah.
and I fix them straight away.
And your empathy and sympathies are there for
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
people. I really want to jump back into the topic of compensation
Yes.
because
Yeah.
as a leader
Yeah.
in this industry,
Yeah.
and I hear a lot of your military background coming into like
Yeah.
in the simplicity of being an expert at the simple things,
Yeah.
shining your shoes,
Yes.
making your bed,
That's right.
making mashed potatoes.
Right.
But the problem within our industry, as I see it for so long, when we were talking about,
Yeah.
you said skill level should equal financial reward, right?
Right,
Like the
right.
more skilled you are, the more money.
Right.
That's topsy-turvy, or at least it was for a very long time in our business, right?
Right,
Like
right.
you could walk into the front of the house, not be very skilled, but just kind of be naturally gregarious or have a personality,
Right.
and you're going to make a lot more money than the sous chef in the back or the line cooks who might have worked and staged for
Right.
years.
Right.
So I guess that's a question. How do we fix that in our industry at this point?
Okay, so let me think about what you just said and receive what you just said, because so people don't misunderstand me. There is a skill set, a very defined skill set that goes along with this industry, whether it's front of the house or back of the house. Now, obviously, attitude comes in a big part of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you come into a situation, how you react to situations, and how you come into and say, okay, I can be a contributor. See, here's one of the things when I interview people. You're not an employee to me. You're a contributor to my organization. What can you contribute to my organization? That's how I define them. That's how we talk. That's how I give them that title. You're a contributor, okay? And I'm going to treat you as such, okay? And so for me, skill set means for me, if I have a person in the kitchen who can come in there and understand how to set their station up, they have these specific behaviors that go along with being a professional cook. Now, and I will. You hire for that. Obviously, when you're doing the interview process, you validate people's skill sets, and how it goes. You bring them in and do a stage, do some knife work. I'm very adamant about you come into the kitchen and wash your hands before you start doing anything. That's important to me.
Right.
Simple, but it's important. Like, you mean to tell me you're going to walk into the kitchen, suit up, and then start working?
Yeah.
You mean, we don't wash hands no more. Oh, so for me, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, Max.
Yeah.
I mean, for real, so that to me is
Didn't
something
we have
that-
a hand washing class that we all did as a
Absolutely.
nation all last year?
If we don't have a damn hand stick in that restaurant, we ain't opening. So I want to use it up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I look at those things, and like I said, it's different things and different parameters, man. But, for me, all I know is, from my perspective, the more skillful, the more experienced I had, the more salary I could command.
Yeah.
And justify it. And for me, it was never about, and once again, I didn't have to look for a job. I worked in such a way that I was always recommended, and that to me is the best endorsement, man.
Yeah.
It's like somebody talking good about you. A living, breathing soul says, this guy is worth it.
Yeah.
That's
I
real,
mean,
man.
just like we talk about James Beard Awards and
Yeah.
recognition, that's recognition. When
Yeah.
somebody else sees you and
Yeah.
sees your abilities and then recommends you to somebody else,
Yeah.
that's special.
I'm a bit offended. Not offended, but people say, "Oh, Chef Ricky," they use the term legend. I'm in this
Ricky,
little-
none of us have said that.
yeah. But I've heard that, and I'm like, yo, man, like, for real, I just work. I know how to work, in that little small place, and people, no, this work. I Well, that's work. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I work hard. I like working hard. Give you a quick backstory, man. As a kid, I worked early on farms doing work, tobacco, corn, potatoes. I don't know if anybody's ever worked in a tobacco farm, man, but you ain't never worked this harder,
right.
Straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's part of my DNA.
Right.
So I know how to work well, and I know now I'm in a place now where I'm rethinking that. My work now becomes not always physical, but something different.
Yeah. It's
and working hard, I know, is your constant narrative in general. I know you got a heart out in a few minutes. So before we say goodbye to you, what's next now? What's happening in Chef Ricky Moore's life, both career wise and in general? Like, what do we need to know?
Okay, you need to know that my daughter Hunter, she would love that I shout her out on the show here, is going to college soon, so we're working on that, getting her organized or whatever.
Wait, you named your daughter Hunter, not Fisher?
Yes, Hunter.
Come on, it was right there the whole time.
My wife had something to do with that, so we had to balance that out. But Hunter and my son Grayson, I had to shout him out too, because he'd be mad at me if I don't say his name either. But he's a lacrosse player, doing his thing,
midfield, defense, attack, goalie.
Goalie. Yeah, it's power. And me, I'm working on some product lines, guys. I'm working on putting my seafood breader in a bag, putting my cocktail sauce, tartar sauce.
Yes.
Also working on the vinaigrette that goes with the slaw. I'm going to work on that. So Saltbox has been this sort of nucleus, man. I'm trying to spin things off of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To create revenue opportunities.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah. So, and on top of that, I think I've heard you said that you'd like to now that Saltbox is, settled, you've built the roots, the foundation, you want to open up more joints.
Yes.
So that's the thing. And then getting back to what you were saying, you're a hard worker. You know how to put your head down and peel potatoes or do that. But at some point, then you have to figure out how to work smarter and not harder.
Yes.
And as opposed and get other people's in your organization. So how do you make that transition? And what would be some other joints and where? Or will there be a Saltbox Seafood Joint Raleigh, perhaps?
Well, the day one, the goal was to hit the triangle, right?
Yeah.
Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh. That's the goal.
Okay.
And 10 years in business. I'm working on it. How do I get people to share the vision that I have or the work ethic?
Yeah.
I don't have an immediate answer. It's an ongoing process, and I'm going to be very honest. You just got to work at it.
I know.
Once again, the term works pops up, right? Regardless of what we do, that's something that we got to continuously work on. So work in progress,
What that tells me right now is to our listeners, if you're a young, aspiring chef, you want to do something, go introduce yourself to Ricky.
Yes.
Because he needs you.
Yeah.
But seriously, for real, you're only as strong as your team.
Absolutely.
And if you had a serious team, you'd probably have your second or third location open right now.
Yeah. Well, if I take out the whole pandemic thing,
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, and for me, Max, I'm methodical. I'm not, Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A took a long time for him to get those things popped off, man.
That's true.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and just on a side note, I read a lot of the restaurant history about how things were evolved and how things were grown. And, I'm a big fan of the American history food, the food that altered American history.
Yeah.
I love listening to that, man, because, it takes time. Five Guys, true story. And I got to get off here. Five Guys was in the Washington, D.C. area in a neighborhood in Virginia. 5 dudes in the kitchen listening to hip-hop music. That's how it started. Honestly.
Yeah.
A little joint. And they were deliciously good.
Right.
Old school hamburger, greasy, full, stuff dripping all down your wrist. You know what I mean? And me and my wife used to go there all the time. Now look at it.
Well, there's the story.
Ricky, thank you.
Yes.
We'll say goodbye to you. I'm going to go hop around on your side. I'm going to give you a hug and say goodbye.
Right on.
You go do your thing, and then Matt, you'll interview me. How about that?
Sounds good.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man. Appreciate you, man.
All righty.
All right.
You take care.
All right, man.
Thanks. We didn't even get to talk about the wine dinner you did for Dan Petrosky's Wines years ago.
The wine dinner.
Amazing.
Man. Okay, we'll get it another time.
Yeah, we'll have part 2.
Next time we'll actually have you in the studio at the kitchen in downtown Raleigh. We'll do it the way we normally do it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
You know?
Yeah, that'd be real nice. And I can allot the time. We can hang out, man. We can eat too, man. Bring some food or something.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate you all. Appreciate it. Cocktail sauce, bro.
Cocktail sauce. Well, Matt, hello.
All right, Max Trujillo, owner, proprietor of Craft and Nightdale.
Yeah.
When's Craft and Clayton slated to
That's
open?
the question everybody wants to know. I mean, we're going to start breaking ground soon, but it'll take a few months to get that going. So hopefully by the end of the year, that's the goal. We might have some super secret surprises coming too that no one knows about yet. So we'll talk about that. Even you don't know. I don't think.
I don't know.
But you know what we have planned?
Yes.
On June 4th is Bubbles and Brisket, Part 2.
Yeah. What is Bubbles and Brisket?
Well, it came to be from having a conversation on our podcast. I think one James Sampson was on the show of Corner Boys Barbecue, and we were chatting about just, we're always talking about pairing. And for those that are new to listening to our show, both Matt and I have a pretty long and storied career in the wine and beverage program. I've been a wine director for a long time. Matt sells wine. He's a sommelier. I don't even pretend to call myself a sommelier anymore, but at a time I kind of was.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
You really do. And so, but what I do though is if you're someone like me who's not using it any longer, stay friends with someone who is using it like you, and help them build your wine portfolio at the restaurant as you do. So, but we were talking about it, and it's like the best way to pair most foods is with champagne. Champagne's like the great equalizer. It's got the acid, it's got the enough sugar, the carbonation helps kind of clear the palate, does all those things. And everyone typically, not everyone, but a lot of people drink soda or beer with their barbecue because that's kind of just the standard.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, why can't we be hoity-toity and fancy and do the things that we love and mix some champagne with brisket? And so we had that conversation. It manifested into a reality. And last year we had 7 chefs, barbecue people, and just local chefs too. Actually, just a stone's throw away from here was Carrie Schleifer over at Alley 26
on the docket again.
Yeah, she's on it again, and we have some great people that have committed. Should we talk about some of them? They're on, right?
Why not? They've already committed. Yeah.
Yeah. So our good friend Jake Wood over at Lawrence Barbecue is going to be there. We have Nick Dampf of Damp Good Barbecue who is doing pop-ups all around town. But and I can say this now, he's going to join us in Crafton as it comes in at the Clayton location.
You can say that now?
Well, said it out loud,
okay.
And I said, "Are you saying this?" He's like, "I want to say it." I'm like, "All right, well then I guess we're doing this." So he's going to be there. But then we have Carrie.
Say again.
We have Carrie Schleifer of Alley 26.
William Sampson of Corner Boys Barbecue.
James Sampson, but
James Sampson, Nick Dampf.
Kyle Sutton of the Stowe Baked Goods, who's been on there, and he just makes crazy barbecue.
One of the things that I'm very excited because we're not just doing like the traditional smoked brisket, like you mentioned about Chef Schleifer over at Alley, but Hank's Downtown Dive is going to do what I absolutely love to eat there is their brisket taco, which is phenomenal.
Yeah,
so we'll have a little difference there, and then Butcher's Market is on the docket again to do a brisket.
Yeah, we're gonna have a strong team. We might have some Crafton Lager and IPA that we're all make an appearance. So we will have some beer.
Yep.
We're gonna have obviously all of these champagne houses that through our partnership with Triangle Wine Company and through some of the people that have been able to provide tons of different types of champagnes and sparklers and Proseccos and Cavas, Cremants to go through. And then we're working on the live entertainment aspect of it too. We're still in the infancy stage about how we're building the whole thing, but we have a date and we have a location. The date again is June 4th. It's a Saturday from 2 to 5 or 2 to 6. And it's going to be in Smoky Hollow, which if you don't know about Smoky Hollow, it's fairly brand new, but it's in downtown Raleigh, kind of where the Publix was just installed right off Person Street next to Glenwood South. And so it's this beautiful spot that's going to have a bunch of new food and beverage and retail businesses all coming up, possibly by this summer. So we're really going to kick off this space. Oh, and our friends, I want to give them a shout out, but Longleaf Swine's going to be there as well, who make just amazing food. So So join us.
Yeah.
Tickets will go on sale soon. We'll make those announcements, but right now it's a save the date.
If it's a save the date, if you're interested in this and you don't follow us yet, we're at NCFB Pod on Instagram, which is our most used social media platform, at NCFB Podcast on Facebook, and or sign up for our mailing list. Just go to ncfbpodcast.com, and then you'll receive all the information about Bubbles and Brisket.
Yeah.
And if we forgot you and you're listening or watching right now, just hit us up and you can give us the what for. But
because Brandon Shepard is also
because Brandon Shepard, Be Nice, is on former
Shepard
guest of the
Barbecue
show.
out there in Emerald Isle. He's going to be a part of it, so he's driving all the way out. And our good friend Matthew Register down in Southern Smoke
How
in
could
Garland.
we forget about him?
We didn't forget. We just wanted to keep him waiting. So he's like, I'm waiting for my name to be announced, boys.
He's probably texting you right now.
Yeah, well, that's why. Yeah, I was like, oh, there it is. Sorry, Matt. No, but it's great. This is such a great camaraderie, a community of, I don't like using that term pitmasters anymore. It's kind of an outdated term, but people that
Chefs.
do barbecue
Chefs.
and if you're a chef or whatever, and again, like DM us or put it up. What do we call someone that does barbecue now that makes sense? But yeah, we'll call them chefs for now.
Yeah.
And but we're excited. It'll be fun. It's going to be a great way to spend time with your friends and your family, and for us to reconnect. I mean, now we're kind of get out into public. We just did this in Charleston. We went to Charleston Wine and Food, and that was such a cool way to connect back with the industry. Those episodes, if you're listening today's a Wednesday, our Charleston excursion, if you will, has turned itself into many individual interviews, and we had some fantastic people on the show. Those are all going to be dropped tomorrow on Thursday when we normally drop our episodes. So new episodes every Thursday on the NCFB podcast.
Yeah. And some people to think about coming up as a result of Charleston Wine and Food. If you're a wino and you read the New York Times, Eric Asimov, famous wine writer of the New York Times, is going to be on probably episode somewhere late April. We're thinking we'll release that around the 22nd of April.
Yeah.
Any other guests slated that you're super excited about? I mean, we're excited about all of them.
Well, the ones that we already interviewed, like we had Chef Joe Flam, who was the 2018 Top Chef winner. He spoke to me about Croatian food, which was great. Manit Chaufro, I can never, forgive me, Preeti Was, who was also my co-host on that particular episode. But Manit, from Chopped, she gave us her time like minutes right before she went on stage and talked to us about her new book, Shot, which apparently means lick in her language. And so, which is great. And then, and Meg Bickford from the Commander's Palace, first
she's
female
amazing.
chef that is at Commander's, 128 years of a restaurant, and she is running it now. Really fun, thoughtful conversations. Quentin Middleton of Middleton Made Knives, which was hilarious and fun and just a good conversation. So, if you like food, if you like beverage, if you even just like the idea of entrepreneurialism in this industry, that's really what we get into. If this conversation with Ricky gives you any idea, this was a pretty good example of what we do when we talk to our friends in this business, and we make it consistent.
Yeah, they drop little hints and nuggets about how to cook, how to start a business, how to live your personal life, and it's awesome. So thank you to Earfluence and American Underground for inviting us and having us be part of this podcast marathon. Like we said, go follow us on the gram at NCFB Pod. And for those of you who love seafood, go to Saltbox Seafood Joint. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NCFB podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.